We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love. Welcome, and thank you, Desiree. I have to tell you, last Friday, I went to hear Desiree in concert. It was about an hour and a half, and when she was finished, I said, wasn't enough. You can sit there for 4 hours and not feel like it's enough to hear her. So we are very blessed to get to have her in our space and sharing that beautiful soul with us. My name is Shireen Hill, and I welcome you all here. I'm so glad to see you, and I'm welcoming everyone in the virtual sanctuary who are here today. I know some people were even online this morning at 8:30 sending me notes. How do I watch at 10? So I know we have some new faces there and see some new faces here. And if you are here, make sure you stop at the welcome desk. Marietta has some welcome packets to share with you that have more information about us and an option for a free gift in the bookstore. And the same is available to anyone in the online sanctuary. You can go to unitydenver.org and click on New to Unity. So at this point, I have something to share as a reading for us that is from Father Richard Rohr. And Trisha's chosen this today. It's called The Embodiment of God. And Father Richard reflects on the Apostle Paul's interconnected understanding of the body of Christ. And that's what he's writing about here. So he says, during the Apostle Paul's lifetime, the church was not yet an institution or structural grouping of common practices and beliefs. Right. Unlike today, the church was a living organism that communicated the gospel through relationships. So Paul's brilliant metaphor for this living, organic, concrete embodiment is the body of Christ. And I know we've all heard that reference quite often. And here's one of the first references from Romans 12, 4-6. And it says, "For as in one body we have many parts, and all the parts do not have the same function. So we, though many, are one body in Christ, and individually parts of another. Since we have gifts that differ according to the grace given to us, let us exercise them." And then another metaphor comes from Romans 5:5 that says, "At the heart of this body, providing the energy that enlivens the community, is the love of God that has been poured out into our hearts." So Richard Rohr goes on to say, this spirit is itself the foundational energy of the universe, the ground of all being. Paul writes, "Now you, in your togetherness, are Christ's body." In our connectedness with this luminous web, this vibrational state of love, we are participating in the embodiment of God. For Jesus, such teachings as forgiveness, healing, and justice are the clear evidence of such a shared life. When we do not see this happening, religion is all in the head. Peacemaking, forgiveness, and reconciliation are not some kind of ticket to heaven later. They are the price of peoplehood, the signature of heaven now. We are essentially social beings, and I am only one part of the reflection of the great mystery of God. We are each of us simply one fingerprint or footprint of God. We are essentially connected with one another. The foundation for community has to come out of reality and what is. And the pattern of the universe is that we are one. It's a benevolent universe, it's radically okay, and God is on our side. We can be at rest. We don't have to live competitively. We don't have to climb or succeed because there's nothing up there that isn't right here. And so with that, I'd like to open us up with reading together our creed. Our God is love. Our race is human. Our faith is oneness.
Thank you, Shireen. Good morning, everyone. Glad to see you all here. If I haven't met you, I'm Trish Morris. I'm serving as your spiritual leader here at Unity Spiritual Center, Denver. And I do see a bunch of new faces. How exciting. Welcome. Yes. Yes, we're glad to welcome you here. You know, I chose that reading. Father Richard Word did a whole series last week on community, and we don't really talk in terms of the body of Christ here very often. We often talk about Christ consciousness, and that is what we see to be our invitation, that is actually the blueprint for our true beingness, that we can rise to and recognize that consciousness that was demonstrated by Jesus, that held first and foremost that we are one with our Creator, with God, by whatever name and nature you know it, that we are not separate, that we are actually one. And as such, we are one with each other. And so community is so important. And I dove into that this week, I'll be honest, because I'm needing community. And I am recognizing ways in which if I'm not on or great, I retreat, right? And become a silo unto myself, and that never ends very well. So I'm inviting, and I love the idea that, of course, if we are expressions of the divine, individual expressions of divine mind, as we often say. We talk about that in terms of that notion of Christ consciousness that we can attain as we recognize it and trust it and live into it, oftentimes needing to combat or release our conditioning. We've talked about that as well. That then we think of the body of Christ as the living expression, all the ways that we express, all the variety of talents and gifts that we bring, that we have access to fully claim them when we clear the way through the conditioning, through the ways in which perhaps we've shut down or tuned off, right? So that is the invitation that I'm inviting you into today. And I will actually invite you to consider for yourself what it means to be a part of a community, and really, more importantly, what it means to belong, how and where you find a sense of true belonging. And we'll find that that has to begin with ourselves. We have to navigate the places within us that we have exiled sometimes, that we have determined don't belong somehow. So we have to widen the circle of our understanding to incorporate all of ourselves. And that oftentimes requires hard work, revealing places and spaces within us that are sort of incongruent, that need some healing. And so my purpose in this whole talk today is not only to create space for that to be okay, but to really begin to lay the foundation as a community to be able to be here when you're not okay, when you're not singing zippity-doo-dah, right? And to be able to say, I've said lately, people are like, how are ya? And I'm like, I'm okay. And I am okay. And I got some stuff going on that's heavy, And I don't want to pretend like I don't. And I realize that doing that holds me at bay from other people. It thwarts my ability to connect authentically. If something's going on with me and I say, I'm fine, I'm great, I can't really connect with what's really going on for you. So that's what this service is an attempt to open up the space for recognizing that we all belong, it all belongs, and how can we co-create a community that's based on that. And yes, our spiritual teachings absolutely support us in that. And at times they can be used to try to override it, just transcend on above it. And then it's all the more shocking when you get shoved down in it. And then you can feel even more shame and, I should know better. Well, you got to go sometimes the only way out is through, not above. So I'll be holding that, I'll be sharing that with you today, and really inviting you into an opportunity to consider that and share that for yourself. So I did I'm all out of order, but we will settle in now with the time of prayer. So I invite you to just get comfortable in your chair, close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, as we just settle into this space. And for this time, I invite you to, just take a deep breath and release all that you may have awaiting you today, and all in order to make room for all that really is alive in you right now. So releasing your focus on the outer and breathing into your heart space. And I bring the crystal bowl here that is tuned to our heart chakra to just let that sound invite you to go deeper. Quieting your thinking mind as much as possible. Opening your heart.
Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place.
So just take a deep breath into the presence of love that is in this place and recognize that it is here because you are here. That love resides in you and as you. As we heard this morning, at the heart of this body, at the heart of your body, providing the energy that enlivens the community and enlivens you, is the love of God that has been poured into our hearts, into your heart and mine. We know God to be love. not a being loving, but the essence and energy of love itself. And so we breathe into and connect with this idea, this truth, that that is the truth of your being. That you are a living expression of divine love, divine life. For this time contained in this human vessel, but so much more that cannot be contained. And so we breathe into the fullness of that reality, of that possibility of all that we are as expressions of our source. And we know that though that is true, there are still areas in our life where we struggle, where we are confused, where we might be in pain. And so we let this knowing of the truth of our being guide us and support us in making our way through those experiences, grounded in love, offering ourselves love and compassion and understanding. We begin always with ourselves because we are unable to give to anyone or to the world anything that we don't have ourselves. And so claim this morning for yourself the capacity and the fullness of your true essence as that love that God has poured into your heart, into your very being, as the true essence of who and what you are. And may whatever you're facing be supported in that knowing. Be healed. May you be strengthened and guided and supported. And we expand from ourselves to our community and to our world to see a world that is connected with that truth. For if it's true for us, it's true for all. That all of creation, all of humanity is an expression of divine life and divine intelligence and divine love. And so may we do that for ourselves and hold that for that whole body as we spoke of this morning. The living body of God, of Christ as it's known. Let it know itself fully in such a way that there is no need for competition and defense, but for unity and connection and healing. So as we breathe into this possibility for ourselves and hold it for our world, we release a bit of the burden. Yes, knowing that there is that within us that transcends the world and that can lead us through our experience in the world. And we can do that together. So for this knowing and for this ability to grow into that each and every day, we are grateful. And so it is.
When you're weary, feeling
You got to look up. Oh, I should have picked a longer song. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm just going to admit that I have been having hot flashes, so I set this air conditioning too low. So I'm going to let you all off the hook and make that little adjustment. That's a new experience for me, and it's really aggravating. Gets me as if I need anything to agitate me. That's not it. What is happening? So I named this talk Building a Bridge of Belonging. Sort of feeling that need to connect in an authentic way, including when times are tough, when perhaps we are feeling lost and down and confused. And certainly that's my hope for this spiritual community. And I know that being a part of the New Thought movement can sometimes be a little misconstrued and misused, as I mentioned, in terms of this sort of temptation to take the spiritual bypass, to be so spiritually evolved that there's no need to traverse the troubles of the world. No need to feel them, no need to respond to them. And it really is a way in which, we deny our own struggle, which in my mind, really what and I get the temptation, my goodness, I totally do. And in my mind, the spiritual truths that we're teaching, that we are, first of all, that there is only one true power, one presence. Oh, I see who the new baby is. Hello, welcome back. We have a new baby amongst us that we haven't met yet. Speaking of community, that we hold that there is one power, one presence, God, by whatever name you know it, active in the universe as the source of all that is, and as such, we are expressions of it. If it is the source of all that is, it is our source. And so our inherent status is not really of original sin, but of original goodness. And what happens in the world that often conditions over that is where we often find our sin, or make choices based on who we're not, and make choices based on, in part, some of the conditioning that has had to happen to us that has been painful. And also then we also believe in the power of our mind, right? The power of our thought to create our experience. Not necessarily the circumstances, but how we respond to those makes a difference. And are we responding to those from this belief that there is one power, one presence, that presence is good, and that I am an expression of it? Am I aligning my thoughts with that, even in difficult times? And we use the power of prayer and meditation regularly to align our minds more and more fully with that truth, so that especially in times of challenge and trouble, we're not searching so hard for it. We know where to find it. And we allow our mind, with its limits in humanity, to be illumined, to have the possibilities that are of spirit that far outweigh what we can think of sometimes, and particularly when we're focused in on the problem and we're all how the problem's working and who did it and why they did it and what we're going to do to them, right? Not a lot of well, there's a few possibilities, but we won't talk about those. We're looking for a higher possibility of expression. And the final principle then is that it's great that we know all this, but how are we living it? And I just implore us, is that right? I request that we do not fall for the spiritual bypass. because it causes harm. You know, I've heard people say that on the tail end of something horrific, that everything happens for a reason. Oh. And that doesn't mean it doesn't really suck. And I'm not sure what the reason is. And I'm also discovering that some of the reasons that things are happening need to be changed. We can't stop doing the same. Those reasons, we're outgrowing those reasons. And so let's broaden and look at. And it is uncomfortable. And it does require courage. And it does require vulnerability. And I, for one, don't like that sometimes. Yeah. And I'm learning, slowly but surely, that I can handle it. You know, and it doesn't mean that we don't have some good boundaries and we don't choose wisely who we are vulnerable with, right? So if that is this community, we have work to do to be accountable, to be trustworthy, to be able to say hard things. It's not just a given. I don't know about you, but the longer I live, the more I realize how much work this is. To really continue to live up, not just done, right? And part of that only comes alive in community. It only comes alive when we're in relationship. And I get to deal with, you believe what? And I still know the truth of you, and I want to be in relationship with you. So tell me more about that, right? It takes great courage, and it takes tremendous courage right now because of all of this nonsense of us and them, us and them, us and them. It feels dangerous at times. I get it. What's my point? In all of that reading this week about belonging and about community and about, there's this idea, Valerie Carr talks about it, building the beloved community. There's actually a New Thought author, thankfully, who talks about how to build the beloved community, which requires little tiny babies to keep the community going. Sorry, that happens anytime I see a baby. I won't look. So I'll start talking like that. It requires a level of responsibility and maturity and also this grounding in the truth of who and what we are and holding ourselves accountable for it and seeing it in each other when we can't see it in ourselves. Mirroring that. One of my very favorite scriptures is from 2 Corinthians verse 18. And all of us with unveiled faces, seeing the glory of the Lord as though reflected in a mirror, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another. We have to be willing to look in the mirror, and we have to be willing to take the veils off. And sometimes it's just appalling that they're even there. Who put that veil on me? And so you see that doesn't replace looking in the mirror and taking the veil off. But the last part of that says, for this comes from the Lord, the Spirit. So, and all of us with unveiled faces, seeing the glory of the Lord as though reflected in a mirror. So we are seeing the truth of ourselves. We understand the Lord not to be this man in the sky doing weird things to us sometimes, but our spiritual consciousness, our spiritual knowing of who and what we are. And as we continue to unveil that, we are transformed in this life experience. Still, we will have suffering, we will have pain, we will have loss, we will be confused, we will make mistakes. But I think with every step in that transformation, all of that gets easier, makes more sense, has a purpose. And so we are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another, for this comes from the Lord, the Spirit, which is the activity of the I am within you and within me. And we have to be willing to sometimes stop acting like we're okay when we're not. Or even, it doesn't have to be like, I'm not saying go to your company cocktail and relive your childhood trauma. That probably wouldn't go over well. Because, you've got to be responsible for other people's stuff that you might bump into, for one thing, and they're just trying to have happy hour. So know where you are as you do this. But even talking about what's happening, what's going on, I feel like we're stumbling around how to do that. What's unraveling? What's so uncomfortable? I'm not sure, but I sure know it's there. I sure feel it. Let's talk about it. I've talked already about how very few of us are having honest conversations about the climate crisis. It's just too big. It's just too big. Well, somebody's got to talk about it, right? We're never going to find any solutions for things we aren't willing to face. And we have the capacity, we have the strength, we have at our disposal the mind of God if we turn in and let that reflect into our awareness. So I wanted to talk, I went back to good old Brené Brown, who talks wonderfully about belonging, what true belonging means. So I share this with you, her definition. She says that belonging is the innate human desire to be part of something larger than us. Because this yearning is so primal, we often try to acquire it by fitting in, by seeking approval, which are not only hollow substitutes for belonging, but often barriers to it. That's some of the veils we're talking about. Because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world, our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. Let me read that again. Because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world, our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. And so, that's what I hope we're working on and pushing into here, and using spiritual wisdom to support that, but not to replace it. She goes on to say that this definition has withstood the test of time, as well as the emergence of new data, but it is incomplete. There's much more to true belonging. Being ourselves means sometimes having to find the courage to stand alone, totally alone. It's not something we achieve or accomplish with others. It's something we carry in our heart. Once we belong thoroughly to ourselves and believe thoroughly in ourselves, true belonging is ours. I would say also then we can allow more people to belong, because we're not all threatened and wound up in our own lack of belonging. Belonging to ourselves means being called to stand alone, to brave the wilderness of uncertainty, vulnerability, and criticism. And with the world feeling like a political and ideological combat zone, this is remarkably tough. We seem to have forgotten that even when we're utterly alone, we're connected to one another by something greater than group membership, politics, and ideology. We're connected by love and the human spirit. No matter how separated we are by what we think and believe, we are part of the same spiritual story. And so that is the story that I hope to invite you into co-writing with me. As I do this every week, I realize I don't want to just get up here and talk at you. I want to, because I can only really talk from my experience, and I'm happy to share that. And in doing that, I negate the variety of experiences here that I don't have, that you don't have, right? And so this idea of collaboration and of community and of sort of figuring it out together is really calling to me in ways that it hasn't before. I'm real good at siloing. Just ask Shireen. She can't even find me. I'm just in my office. What do you want? I got to think about this and do this. And boy, but then when I say, what do you think about this? And then she says, oh, gives me some, I don't have to do all of this alone. And there's an idea I didn't even think about. So just opening up to that collaboration. So I'd like for you to think for yourself, and I'm going to ask you to share. I know, I said it. You don't have to come up here. Everyone come up here. Get this microphone. I'd like you to sing your answer. No, but part of community and part of connecting is connecting around some of these ideas that I'm presenting up here. So I want you to think about, and I recognize that many of you are new. So the question that I had in mind was really, have you experienced a sense of belonging in this community? If you're new to this community, think of a community that you frequent. And the answer is not necessarily yes, right? So I want you to hone in on, have you experienced a sense of belonging in this community or a community that you frequent? And if so, what is it there? What is present there that invites you into this authentic sense of belonging? And if you don't feel a genuine sense of belonging here, why is that? Is there something missing? Or if you're like me, is there something you're sort of withholding, right? You're not fully in it. So I'd like you to think about that, and I'd like you to share that with a partner. I'd love it if it wasn't your spouse, but if that needs to be that's okay. So I have the questions on a slide. I'm going to have Al put that slide up. You can almost see it. Oh, you know what? They're in your bulletin as well. Yes. I put them in your bulletin because here's the thing. I have no doubt that some of you are like, what? No way. And then 2 days you might have a great revelation about, this is what belonging means to me. This is where I feel it. This is what I do. So take that with you and work with it. I'd love to get it back if you'd like to share it. But right now, and those of you watching online, you have that on your screen to interact on the chat with. Have you felt a sense of belonging in this community or one that you frequent? If so, what is it that affords that sense of genuine belonging? And if not, what is missing or what can you bring to it? So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to share with each other. Person with the shortest hair goes first. Just take that off the problem solving right there. Find a partner. You have to share to be in community. Like a bridge. Okay, go. You done? Just make sure everyone's had a moment to share if you haven't switched. Okay. Okay, I could let it go on for a long time. I'm thrilled you're doing it. Now what do I do? Okay, I'll see you next week. Yeah, I'll let you. Here's what we'll do. There they go. Perfect. Perfect. Oh, thank you. Thank you for taking that on. May it continue. Anybody have anything that really came up that you'd like to share with the whole group? All right. Wonderful. I'm going to bring you a mic so people online can hear. Thank you, Ed. Oh, I've always wanted to be a talk show host. This is awesome.
I think I've been here 30 years, so I've been here a long time, and it's always been in sharing is what draws me, and it continues to draw me, is of course Martha, the music. But it's the sense of community, that it's the smallness. I mean, sure, we would like to be bigger, but we've always, and I've been here, like I said, 30 years, so I've gone through it all. And it's this smallness of people knowing each other and caring about each other. It's not just going to a big church and then going home and, you know, spending the next week living your life and then coming back and getting that connection again. But it's that acceptance and unity and the smallness, and and the other last piece has always been the acceptance of all religion. I mean, the ministers that have been here have always had a variety of resources, and not just from Unity, but from every other religion you can think of. So that's my story.
Thank you. Someone over here wanted to say something? Did I make that up? Oh, yes. Yes, so Unity has a foundation of, honoring all paths to God, recognizing the wisdom in all faith traditions. So thanks for reminding us of that.
I would just say that one thing about this community in particular is that, at least I can say for myself, but I think I've observed it in other people, is that the concept of being down to earth and authentic really lives here. Like I've felt most at home and like I belong most when I'm like least polished and most goofy and not together. You know what I mean? Like that's
good.
when I feel like there's authentic connection between people when it's not the Sunday best, whatever show. I think it's just, everyone just comes as their own goofy, flawed selves. And that's, at least for me, when I feel most embraced and at home here is when I'm just me.
Great.
The ugly me that my family gets to see.
Yeah, the ugly me that her family gets to see. Yeah, thank you. So that reminds me of, I'm working with a spiritual counselor who talks about how often before we leave, we sort of mask up, literally these days, but like what we present to the world is not what we fully are at home. And you see it with your kids who teachers say, oh, they're amazing. They come home and just lose their crap because it's safe and they belong there and they can be the fullness of who they are. And I think they're living expressions of how stressful it can be to be in the world and not be your authentic self. They're saying it in so many ways, right? So that's a great example, and I'm glad that you feel that way, and I hope that feeling extends to more of you. I put those questions in your bulletins for you to take if you're like me, you need to process a little bit. And I hope that some more comes to you to really think about. And for those of you who don't have a sense of belonging here, what might you need to bring and what might you need? I'd love to know that. I realize that community is a give and take, and we certainly rely on it when we are in need. We count on it, and we also bring ourselves to it, offering in our own, as the reading said this morning, our own unique gift, our own unique expression of spirit. And so it takes us all, and I think as we do that, we allow more of our full self to emerge and be seen, and we allow that in others to come forward and hold the space for that. And so I really thank you for participating in that. I'm open to your suggestions. I'm really looking for ways to make this a more interactive experience on Sunday mornings and onward, not just for this hour, but so, it's a little trial and error, and I think it went well the first time. Thank you for participating in it. And be sure, if you didn't get a bulletin, grab one on your way out so you can do some work with those questions on your own. And feel free to bring them back so we can incorporate your feedback. I'll just say briefly that we have synthesized, many of you who have been in our conversations, I think we called them conscious conversations, purposeful conversations around, it started with our core values. Do they resonate with you? How do we live into them more? Then we had a meeting a couple weeks ago, a potluck. Potlucks are the thing now to build community. I mean, people are on fire with the potlucks. Just have a potluck. But have some purposeful dialogue, around when you do that. Why are you gathering and what can you glean from it? And so we got some great feedback. You all voted on what you sort of saw that was synthesized from those core value conversations as the most important for you in this community and what we can do outside of this community. So we've synthesized those. I'm going to be sending them out to you in an email this week. If you don't get our newsletter, please go online to unitydenver.org and add yourself so you'll be included in that. But you'll see that the theme is connection. Be it in this community, finding ways to connect, of course with potlucks, but other ways of connecting more deeply and meaningful, and then being a connecting with the greater community in unity, recognizing how can we extend this notion of being one with all people outside of the people that show up here. So it's exciting. And we'll share that with you. And I just remind you of all the ways, right, that you can serve this community. There's information in your bulletin about joining the care team, that we take meals and provide rides to people who are recovering from illness or who have suffered a loss in their family or haven't gotten any sleep because they've got a brand new baby. Ways that we can actively care for each other. That's in your bulletin. Security team to just be a part of holding the space for order and security here on Sunday mornings. So there's opportunities in there for how you can serve, and there's opportunities that are coming up for how we hope to serve you in connection with the women's group, the women's retreat. This is not time for announcements. Just don't listen to me. I have slides for all this, so I will announce this better. But my point is that if you look a little bit, you will find opportunities that you can serve the community and ways that the community can serve you. And I'll speak more about those in just a bit. But I do want to take a moment now to just connect in meditation. With this whole notion, right, of beloved community, of belonging, of also making space within ourselves to invite the places and the spaces within ourselves that we have somehow cast out of the sense of belonging for whatever reason. Just opening up to all that comes up as we think about what it means to belong to ourselves and to belong to a community. And we'll take that into a time of meditation. We'll have Desiree lead us in a circle chant as we settle in more deeply.
In this circle of this circle of peace, I feel our unity, love, sweet security. I feel our unity, love, sweet security.
So just take a moment to relax into that security of unity and love, knowing that that is really our truest home, our truest place of belonging. And we are experiencing so much that says the opposite, but we know as we connect that this is the truth of our nature and of our calling here, to be expressions of love and to make the space for unity, for the oneness of all humanity. And so we begin with ourselves by claiming a fuller sense of belonging to ourselves, being authentic and vulnerable, touching into the places and the spaces that may have been left out. As we heal those and integrate those into our whole expression of life, we really do feel a greater sense of belonging. And we allow more people into the circle of belonging, where in truth all belong. And so I just invite you to contemplate for a moment what it means for you to belong to yourself. And welcome any places that may have been absent from that sense of belonging. Knowing and trusting that the truth of your being, grounded in divine truth, divine love, and divine intelligence, can help you do the work to bring all parts together. All parts of you belong. And all parts of the collective family of humanity belong. And so we just hold that in our hearts. And anything that may come up that may need special attention or love or work, we get support with that as needed. Be honest and authentic about that. And we find the courage this day to go forward to be a place and a space where people can be their true, full, messy self, starting with yourself. Speaking truth. And bringing love and awareness to all places. And as we do this, we know that we are participating in expanding the circle of belonging, the circle of love, the circle of unity. So we stay grounded in that idea.
In this circle of love, in this circle of peace, in this circle of love, in this circle
I just invite you to take a deep breath and coming back to this time and space, rubbing your hands together as you open your eyes. So as I began to remind you, there are opportunities to serve and be served in our community. And I wanted to take a moment to announce, I had it in the bulletin last week and in our newsletter, but I didn't mention it, and I wanted to, a member of our community, I think we have a slide for that, Stephanie Kessler, made her peaceful transition on the 27th of June. And you may not have known Stephanie. She was a bit of an introvert, but such a bright spirit. I got to know her at the women's retreat several years ago, and I was like, Stephanie? Because she just, once she got comfortable, she was hilarious and had great stories to tell. And, something was going on with her physically that her medical team could not get to the bottom of, and it was affecting her cognition and her breathing, and she was hospitalized for a while, and then in that time contracted COVID pneumonia. So the combination of all of that was too much for her body to recover, and so her daughters made the difficult decision of putting her in hospice care, and she passed peacefully. So at this time, Stephanie's wish was not to have a service, so her daughters are honoring that, and they're sort of doing their grieving and working on what it might look like to have a party in her honor, a celebration of life. So we'll let you know that. But I did want to make space for that in the service. Also want to tell you about coming up next Tuesday, Dinner and Dialogue. We'll be viewing Race, the Power of an Illusion, Part 2. Here's a fine example of coming together in community and processing and learning together on a topic that's not easy to discuss and to hold. But this is a fabulous series that does a great job of educating sort of how we got to where we are and what we can do differently, what have been the barriers to change. And so I invite you, if you haven't seen part 1, you can still join us on part 2. We meet at 6:30, and guess what? There's a potluck. So we'll eat dinner, watch the screening, and then have a dialogue afterwards. And if you're unable to join us in person, we do have a Zoom link that you can watch it online and have a Zoom discussion afterwards. So check your bulletin for details about that. The Women's Red Tent Women's Circle is coming up next Saturday. Johanna Rowan is leading that. There's details in your bulletin about that. For a connection, an extended time of connection around the topic of the blessing of time, hindsight, insight, and foresight. So those of you women who would like to participate, check that out. You can register online. And to that end, the Unity Women's Retreat is well in its planning stages. There's a fabulous lineup of events and workshops. We have a table out in the lobby today for any of you who'd like to know more or register. You can get help with that. They have a table and a computer and answer your questions. The retreat will be held at Sunrise Ranch over Labor Day weekend. And Heidi Whitehead and Lisa Yelnick are the facilitators of that. And opening to divine purpose is the theme, and from what I hear about it, it's going to be fabulous. I will be there. So check that out and see them in the lobby if you're interested. Just a reminder, I don't have a slide for it, but for those of you who remembered, we're painting the hallway after the service today. This is a simple way you can help. You don't have to if you're in your Sunday finest and you weren't preparing, but I know several of you are planning to help finish that stretch of the hallway into the fellowship room. We'll be painting that after the service today. And thanks to Travis Garvin, who's come in on his own time to edge it all in so we can just get messy and roll through. Thank you, Travis, wherever you are. Yes. Thank you for serving in that way. And now I will let us prepare to collect our offering. I see ushers in the back. If you have cash or check to offer today in support of this service and of this ministry, it is greatly appreciated, and we are, I'll say, owned and operated by all of you, by your financial good and support. So it is important. that just reminded me of my stepdaughter when I took this position. She just said, I really like being at church now that you own the place. It's like, I don't own the place, darling. Well, you know, it just feels like. So really, this community belongs to you, and you fully support it. So thank you for doing that. Ushers are coming down now. And I know many of you give electronically, give online, and so we thank you and bless those offerings as well. So together, whatever you have to give today or whatever you have already give, we will bless together with our love offering blessing. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am thankful.
There comes a moment when my heart must stand alone on this lonely path I've chosen, like a house that's not a home. Sometimes when I feel I've had enough and I feel like giving up, you will me to be all I can be, then nothing can stop me. I believe in the power that comes from a world brought together as one. I believe together we'll fly. I believe in the power of you and I. This is the moment we have dreamed of all our lives. Will be the change we wish from others. We'll stand tall for what is right. And in my heart there'll be no doubt, the arms of the world will come reaching out and embrace me to be all I can be. Now nothing can stop me. I believe in the power that comes from a world brought together as one. I believe together we'll fly. I believe in the power of you and I. I believe the time is right now to stand tall and make the world proud. I believe together we'll fly. I believe in the power of you and I. I believe in the power of you and I. I believe, I believe, I believe in. I believe in you. I believe, I believe, I believe in. I believe in you. I believe, I believe, I believe in. I believe in you. I believe, I believe, I believe in you. I believe together we'll fly. I believe in the power of you and I. I believe the time is right now to stand tall and make the world proud. I believe together we'll fly. I believe in the power. I believe in the power that comes from a world brought together as one. I believe together we'll fly. I believe in the power of you and I. I believe the time is right now to stand tall and make the world proud. I believe together we'll fly. I believe in the power of you and I. I believe in the power of you and I.
Thank you, Desiree Gold. Rumor on the street is you're in our lineup a little more often, yes? Possibly. All right. Good, good, good. Thank you so much for being here. Thank all of you for being here. You can stand if you're ready. If you're not already, we will close with our prayer for protection, and then Des will lead us in singing our final song. So thank you all for being here. I believe there's some coffee and snacks afterwards if you'd like to stay, and then we'll get our paint gear on, so run while you can. Okay, so together let's claim and affirm our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. As light, I illumine my world. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. As love, I live empathy, understanding, and compassion. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. As power, I co-create a world of love, unity, and equality for all. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. As presence, I stand in truth in every circumstance. Wherever we are, God is. Amen.